Hey everybody, BigBlackHatMan here, and today I'm answering those questions. Yes, the Q&A questions that I received are being answered. As you can see, I have dressed up for this auspicious occasion. And so now I will be handling your questions, so there's a lot of them. We better dig right in. Jim Beavan asks, your favorite and least favorite comedian and why? Well, my favorite is Bill Cosby. I mean, brilliant storyteller. Just, if I could tell stories the way that guy tells stories, this would be so much easier. You might be expecting a more, rural or country or even cowboy choice, but Cosby is just my favorite. I could listen to him anytime. He is a genius. Loved the Cosby Show growing up. I know a lot of people make fun of him now for some of the crotchety old man things he's done in recent years, but Bill Cosby is great. And I like a lot of other ones like Carlin. I like, Richard Pryor. A lot of the obvious choices. Maybe a not so obvious choice for someone who I really like is Baxter Black. And a lot of people probably never heard of him, and he's not truly a comedian. He's actually a poet. But he does a lot of really funny stuff on stage. And so Baxter Black is a guy, if you haven't heard of him, maybe look him up, read some of his stuff. Really funny guy. Least favorite? Least favorite. There's ones I do not like. Right now, a lot of my hatred's pointed towards Daniel Tosh. I know he's got a lot of fans. Probably a lot of people watching this really like him, but I think the guy just plays the lowest common denominator, just tries to hit the heck out of it. They've got that other guy on Comedy Central now. I watched his show one time, and I thought he was completely unfunny, too. If you play the lowest common denominator, just make fun of it. How's that funny? That's like the easiest target in the whole world. I'm sure we've all done it. At the same time, though, it doesn't make you brilliant. The man with no chin asks, where did you hide the bodies, Mark? I know you killed them, so where did you hide the bodies? The man with no chin wants to know about bodies. This actually simplifies my life. One less person to have that aggression session now. How do you like them apples, Kyle? MovieFan12 asks, what are your feelings toward the Lone Ranger film? How do I feel about the Lone Ranger film? Well, conflicted. Because I would like to be successful. I would like everybody to go, oh look, Westerns are still really viable. But this Gore Verbinski, Johnny Depp combo that made Pirates and really drove that franchise into the ground, I'm thinking, are they going to be able to pull this off? I don't know. I'm really hoping for some campy fun. I'm hoping they go sort of Golden Age and not... See, because Gore Verbinski did Rango, right? And that was very spaghetti Western. Well, Lone Ranger is Golden Era. It's the 50s and stuff. And I want him to hit on that and be campy and fun and silly. And I don't know. I mean, I've got real fears and real trepidation about the film. But my hope is that it's just a fun watch. It's not going to be a great film. I don't think there's any way that's possible. The subject matter just doesn't lend itself to a great film. Lone Ranger was always a little bit of a silly character. So hopefully it's some silly fun. I don't know how to feel yet. I'm trying to reserve judgment. Part of me is really, really fearful on this one. Hopefully it's just a fun film. In your top 10, you mentioned films that were tributes instead of individual films. Could you elaborate on that? Okay, so let me elaborate on my thoughts on tribute films. Well, tribute films, to me, are more films in the genre that are rehashes of plots and characters and just general settings and things that had already been done once. They've already been done several times over, and they tend to have a lot of homage to the genre in them. It's a pretty loose definition. It's sort of one of those things I feel like I know when I see it. There's ones that I put in there that maybe Tombstone pretty arguably could not be in there. There's a few other ones that I've sort of stuck in there that could not be part of it. A lot of times they'll have older actors who are in a lot of Westerns just kind of shoved in there. Actually, Once Upon a Time in the West, in some ways, falls under my definitions of it. I give that a little credit because the story is a little bit different. Like I've really said, it's one of those sort of know when I see it things where it feels like they're just rehashing something that's been done a number of times, but trying to do it in a bigger, more bombastic, a lot of times campier, more fun way, and more of an homage way. Open Range actually kind of falls out when I say that a little bit. but it's a very loosely defined thing. It's not something I've really pinned down. Maybe it's something I should pin down sometime because I say it and kind of haphazardly, and that's not fair. And I know that. I'm actually pointing that out right here now, that it's not fair. So I'm defining it, but I'm not defining it well because I don't have a good definition. Some are really easy. Django Unchained, clearly a spaghetti western homage. Others not so much, and so maybe I'm lumping. Silverado, I think, is a really easy one because it feels like there's a lot of different archetypes they're homaging in that film. Tombstone, I still feel like it homages archetypes of heroes and the almost subgenre of the OK Corral, which has been done so many times. It's almost a subgenre within westerns itself. So I hope that answers your question. I know it really doesn't, but it's the best I have. Do you think there is a music video that has captured the western feel? Okay, I've been thinking about this one, and no, I can't really think of one, oddly. I mean, Toby Keith Should Have Been a Cowboy is actually like a little western movie, so it's kind of close. And I mean, anything Chris Ledoux in, because the guy's such a cowboy, I guess he's sort of... I suppose there's ones out there, I'm just not aware of them. I'm not a huge music video watcher. We didn't have it when I was a kid growing up on cable, because we didn't have cable. So I've seen a few, but I'm sure there's ones I'm missing. I'm sure there's ones I don't know about that do a really good job. I'm going to say that I don't really know of one. There's ones that have more, well, we talked about homage in the last question, and that's kind of what some of them do, to actually capture more of a whole movie. If that's what you mean, is like to do a whole movie. Not really, but there's a lot of homage, nice little things here and there that have worked throughout the time, and Toby Keith Should Have Been a Cowboy really springs to mind. Some jerk from Boston asks, what's the top manic expression article that made you think, cry, laugh, get mad, and in general feel good? All the blogs I've read in the year and a half I've been on the site, it's really hard to pick out individual ones and say this one did this for me, this one did that for me, because I've read, I don't know, maybe hundreds and hundreds of blogs at this point. As far as cry goes, I'm not a big crier. I don't cry very often. I don't recall. I felt sad. I've definitely felt sad at some of the blogs I've read. I remember when Les's father died. It made me think of my own father, who I'm very close with, and some of the tragic things people have talked about in their lives have definitely brought feelings of sadness to me. But I don't openly weep a lot. I cry on occasion, but I'm not sharing those moments with you because I'm just selfish that way. And I've laughed a lot. Yeah, I've laughed a lot at blogs. I mean, Mr. Smooth Throwing has always made me laugh. I mean, well, the person who asked the question, some jerk from Boston, is science, once the mass amounts of profanity got me giggling occasionally. And of course, there's videos that made me laugh, and I've laughed and I've enjoyed myself a good deal of the time. Get mad. You see me sneaking my peeks at it over here to my right. The political stuff. James Bevan writes about a lot of political stuff that makes me mad. You know, the government treating upon our lives and things. And so, as far as the video game rage and movie rage, I find that more sort of hilarious and mawkish than actually make me mad. When I get mad, I get really mad. I'm one of those people who just, I stay level most of the time, but then when I start to get rage about something, I notch it up. And so I try and save it for things like the government things. And lastly, just feel good. So much makes me feel good. Really, this whole site makes me feel good. And I just, you know, I get up every morning, Movie Fan 12 usually right up there, boom, I can read his right away. And that makes me feel good. And, you know, read everybody else's they post throughout the day. And when I come home from work and to just read a couple to unwind. I love that. That's actually one thing I really love is I work in the evening from the late afternoon to the evening and come home at night. And then the ones that were posted during the day, I get on there, I read those, and I can just let go of my day and I can go right to bed. It feels really good, and that's something. So yeah, that I have going for me. He also asks, have you ever found a movie to be unreviewable? I don't think there's a film that I've ever found unreviewable. I've always had something to say about films. One that I reviewed and just floundered through the review and struggled was Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man, a movie that I really like. But I have a hard time pinpointing the reasons I like it because it's an artistic film and I'm not a film student. I was a history student. So I think there are things in there I'm not getting. But I like the film and I can articulate the reasons I do enjoy the film in some ways, but I think there are definitely things I'm missing. But so Dead Man's probably the most unreviewable film I've attempted to review, and I'm not sure I did a very good job with it. It was a text review from clear back when. So I don't know if anything unreviewable, but definitely ones that have challenged me. Les asks, seen how they done science fiction westerns, Cowboys and Aliens, Serenity, Battle Beyond the Stars, and campy horror westerns, Dracula vs. Billy the Kid. Do you know if they've done a zombie western yet? Zombies in westerns. Well, I'm going to give a terrible answer here. I don't care. I've never enjoyed the zombie films. Even the Romero, like everybody tells me how brilliant they are, and I've watched them, and I'm like, okay. I don't really enjoy this. I'm not a zombie fan, and so I suppose they'll do it because, heck, they're doing it for everything else. And there's some good examples that were pointed out in the chat about how there are already zombie western films out there. But I don't need to watch them. Such a terrible answer, but it's the only answer I got because I'm not a fan of zombies, and zombies in westerns interest me just as little, if not less. So I'm sorry, Les, that's the best answer I have for that question. Mr. Smooth asks, do you think the pilot for our cop show, Smooth and the Hat Man, will ever be picked up? No, because you saddled yourself with a terrible partner. I am not charismatic, and I'm a terrible actor. So maybe you'll get picked up, Mr. Smooth, but no, I'm out because they won't want me. I'm terrible. I can barely act to answer questions. You can tell how bad I am. It'd be awesome if it was, though. A cop show. I could wear this outfit. What do you think? Wear my bolo tie and my vest. The other dude asks, are you a pitcher or catcher? Well, I played some softball in high school, and I caught for the softball team. I assume that's what you're talking about, is softball or baseball. I never really played baseball. It just wasn't available in the area I lived in. So I played a little, a yard softball, and I played a little catcher. I assume that's what you're talking about. Don't have a very strong arm, so I never was a pitcher. If you're talking about, anything else, that would make me mad. And I could take you and the man with no chin and just remove you both from the digression session. Just saying. At Ryu asks, was Jeff Bridges or John Wayne better? Okay, so from True Grit, Jeff Bridges or John Wayne. I read the book, and so I'm a big fan of this story. And the answer to me is John Wayne, because this character is intimidating. It's sort of unapproachable in the book. He's not really likable. He's very gruff. And I think Bridges did that pretty decent, but there was still something just a little too dudeish, too loose about Bridges for that character. And that's who Wayne is. Wayne, it almost felt like the True Grit Rooster Cogburn was almost modeled after Wayne to begin with. So it works really well for Wayne to translate into the role. It's nice and already built in. I don't want to bash Bridges though at the same time, because I really did like his performance in True Grit. I liked the Coen Brothers version of True Grit. Not as well in the long run. I can explain that at length, but I don't want to spend too much time on this question. The short answer is Wayne. I do prefer Wayne as Rooster Cogburn in True Grit. And I prefer that film for a few reasons. Not very many, and they're both really good films. I don't want to bash Bridges. There you go. Also, who on Manic Expression would you like to do a collaboration with that you have not done one with yet? I am open to doing collaborations with anybody. If you have a subject you feel like we mesh on, I'll consider it, and we'll see if we can get something done. I mean, that Behind the Webcam was invented for just this reason. I wanted to work with people, and I sort of wanted a simple format to work with people, and something that anybody could easily do. And so that's one of the big reasons I developed Behind the Webcam, was to do really a simple, straightforward collaboration. I created the character of Wallace for that reason. And so, it's been a blast doing that, and it's a blast working with other people on collaborations. And so I don't know if there's anybody, one individual, I'm like, oh, I've got to do a collaboration with this person. Oddly, I've never done one with James, which strikes me. I don't think I've ever done one with James, oddly enough. So maybe I should just get on the ball and do one with him. We worked together before on stuff, but never done a collaboration per se. So maybe I should just get it out of the way and do one with him, since we're both early sight people. The Creature asks, what is your least favorite Western film? Okay, this is funny because then Mr. Smooth answered it right after. He didn't put the actual film in there, but it's a film he told me to watch because he'd heard it was good, and he said, hey, you should watch this film, I've heard it's good. And I've seen it actually in some other places. Other people said it was good, but they were wrong. It's The Great Silence, a Sergio Corbucci film. Sergio Corbucci, the guy who directed the original Django film, who was known for really violent westerns. And The Great Silence is a really violent western, but it's really, really average, just painfully average, all the way through. And then the end is unbelievably stupid. And I've actually ranted about this a couple times, so I don't really want to rant about it again, because in the end, I'm just going to give the end the way, because I insist nobody watch the film, The Great Science. Don't watch it. It's terrible. But in the end, they just basically kill all the good guys. And so many people are like, oh, what a bold choice to kill the protagonist. And I'm like, no, it was dumb. It was lazy. It was just because he didn't know how to end the film. And he didn't want to end it the exact same way into Django. Quite frankly, if the good guys kill the bad guys at the end, it's the exact same ending as Django. Just almost the exact same. And so I think Carbucci went, no, I don't want to end it that way. I'm going to do it this way. And then he's got this one text scroll at the end that says the bad guys were all captured afterwards. And it's just, that movie is painfully generic and then painfully stupid at the end. So I hate The Great Silence. Chilton asks, which internet personality would you like to see join Manic Expression? That's an interesting question. To be honest with you, I am open to anybody coming to the site. I mean, clearly I'm not going to be restrictive and say, no, this person can't come or that person can't come. I suppose I would have to talk about people I like to watch. Of course, I like Doug Walker, but he's got his own site, so clearly, you know. I like Linkara, but once again, Owen Citizen, I really am a big fan of his, believe it or not. Something about a guy who take art house films, something I don't really care for, and make them interesting. He's always got music. You know, anybody really, but I think those guys are some of my favorites. If they were here, that'd be awesome. There's almost no one, though. I wouldn't mind seeing, take a shot at trying to make a run here on the site. And so that's my answer. It's kind of a wishy-washy one, but that's what I got. Alex the D asks, what's your favorite non-Western movie? To Kill a Mockingbird. I love the film. I've always loved the film since the first time I saw it as a kid to now. It's very sentimental for me. There's a lot of films I love, but I'm going to pick out that one as one that because it's a lot of longevity, 20 years I've loved that film, and so real simple, straightforward answer, To Kill a Mockingbird. Your least favorite non-Western movie? It's hard to pick one movie I really have disliked. I was dating a girl earlier this year, and she made me watch Smurfs, the Smurfs movie. I'm going to pick that one because it's pretty recently in my mind, and it was terrible. I'm watching this movie, I just started riffing on it in front of her, and we broke up. Maybe that's the reason why, because I riffed on Smurfs in front of her, because it was so freaking awful. So who knows, Smurfs would drive a couple apart, but it did. Your favorite book? My favorite book is Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. And the reason my favorite book is Catch-22 by Joseph Heller is because it's the book that got me into classic literature. Now, I'd already read Mark Twain, and I like Mark Twain. I love The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn and things like that. But I kind of was reading more modern stuff for a while there. Early in my high school career, I was trying to read the more modern authors like Stephen King and Michael Crichton. I actually still kind of like Michael Crichton, but there was other ones I was trying to read and trying to be up to date. And then I read Heller's Catch-22 for a class, and I just fell in love with that book. And I went, man, there's so much classic literature I should be reading, because clearly authors have known what they're doing for a long time. And I don't just read classic literature, I read modern literature too, but I prefer the classic stuff. I like to go back and read stuff from the past, and Heller's Catch-22 is still one of my favorites. It's so funny and so poignant and tells such a great story, and on the linear style, it goes back and forth. So that book is just a favorite of mine. I could pick it up and read it again today. In fact, it's been a couple years since I read it. I'm probably going to read it again pretty soon. I read it every few years. That's how much I like Catch-22. Which other internet personality would you like to do a collab with, and what would you review? Okay, any internet personality, extemp, just pick one out. Okay, I'm going to just pick out Owen Citizen and say Deadman, because I've talked about Deadman, I've talked about Owen Citizen. Why not? The guy did Jim Jarmusch's Way of the Samurai, Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai. So maybe he'd understand Deadman better than I do, and he could explain it to me. So I want to do a collab with him just so he can explain Deadman to me. It's a really selfish reason to do a collab, but Infamous Jack asks, what are your favorite moments from behind the webcam, Western Thought, and Support Your Classic Westerns? Favorite moment from Support Your Classic Westerns. Okay, I'm going to start there. That's my blog series, for those who don't remember it. That's how I got started, was I started writing blogs on Western movies, started talking about the really good ones and why you should watch them. And I'm going to go with my favorite moment is the first time I got a comment, and it's my very first one. It was on the Searchers. I don't remember who did the comment, oddly enough. It just made me feel viable. It made me feel like, you know what, I can do this. I can write, and people will respond, and let me do videos, and let me do where I am today, and let me do Manic Expression. And I wouldn't have gone anywhere had I not got that very first comment. And so that's pretty straightforward. And my favorite moment from behind the webcam, I don't know. Well, there's been so many great moments. There's been so much fun. People answering these really off-the-wall questions in really creative ways. And I've enjoyed it so much. And I'm going to just say, I'm going to start at the beginning again, right? So Fusionator and me, and we do the very first one. And it's a little hiccupy because I didn't quite know the format yet and didn't quite know the style I wanted yet. But we got a great response, and a great response to the character of Wallace, and a great response to the interview, and Fusionator, and I keep wanting to call him by his real name, but I'm Fusionator. I'm going to stick with his internet name. He was great, and it was so much fun. And I think that made me go, once again, viability. And I realized, man, this works. This is something I can keep doing. And my favorite moment from behind the webcam, or not behind the webcam, I'm answering these too fast now. So, what am I on? Western Thought. I haven't said Western Thought yet. I've answered too many questions. I'm starting to get them mixed up. My favorite moment from Western Thought, probably anytime I've had my friends on, and they've been there and they've showed up and they've hammered it home, all the way back to And the Horse You Rode In On, for those who even know what that is, very first videos. When my friends showed up and put so much effort into it and sort of followed this crazy dream with me, how much more can you want out of life than friends who will do that sort of thing for you? And so those are my favorite moments from my shows, is when, I guess they're all interaction things, right? People where, you find out, hey, this could work, and man, that's just a great feeling. What's that beloved Western that you can't stand? The beloved Western I can't stand is McCabe and Mrs. Miller. I talked about this extensively in the AFI video on it, because, well, it was number 8 on the AFI's list, so clearly got a huge following, huge fan base. I find the movie dreadfully boring and dreadfully stupid, and the end just is even dumber. I can't stand it. Simple enough. What's the hated Western that you love? The hated Western that I love. Oh, man. Simon Wincer's Lightning Jack from the mid-90s with Paul Hogan and Cuba Gooding Jr. I know a lot of people talk about how stupid that movie was. It was a dumb movie and dumb plot, and the characters are kind of dumb, and it's just silly. I've heard a lot of that. I think that movie's hilarious. Like, that movie, it knows it's ridiculous. Like, that film, fully aware that it's a ridiculous premise and a ridiculous film, and they just run with it, and they have a blast, and Paul Hogan's having fun, and Cuba Gooding Jr.'s having fun. Go back and watch Lightning Jack. That movie's actually pretty funny. I'm sure there's a couple people who agree. I'm sure there's people like, oh, that's a terrible film, but I know it's not. Part of me knows that it's kind of a dumb film, but I actually like Lightning Jack. Favorite actor-director team? Oh, never mind. I know the answer to that. Yeah, I know you know. It's John Wayne and John Ford. Together they were great. They understood each other. They had a great relationship and did a lot of really good films together. They did some pretty average films. I mean, like Donovan's Reef isn't all that good. I mean, it's got moments, but it's definitely sort of below par. And then there's other good teams out there, right? I mean, there was, in Westerns, there's other teams in other genres, but in Westerns you have like Anthony Mann and Jimmy Stewart, Bud Bodercher and Randolph Scott, Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood. I'm trying to think here. Well, there's more than that, I know. And if you go back into the old days, and William S. Hart directed himself, so I'm not sure how that helps. But yeah, no, there's a lot of good teams out there, but John Wayne, John Ford is my favorite, clearly. Aside from Johnny Cash, who do you enjoy listening to? Who do I enjoy listening to besides Johnny Cash? Boy, there's so much that I listen to. I listen to Southern rock. I listen to country music. I mean, I like George Strait. I like Garth Brooks from the 90s, from my youth, when I was younger, and Alan Jackson. I also like Waylon and Willie and all those Texas boys, even like Jerry Jeff Walker and Tom Paul Glazer and stuff like that. Tom Paul Glazer's from Nebraska, right here in my home state. He played a lot in Texas. Other artists outside that, I like Eric Clapton. I like Billy Joel. I'm really departing there. I like the Beatles. For me, it's not really a genre-specific thing. If I like the music, if I enjoy the song, if I think the artist is committed. I remember I used to like the Bare Naked Ladies in high school. I still kind of dig the Bare Naked Ladies. Like, they just had fun playing their music. Like modern day Zac Brown Band, they're kind of the same thing. Like, they just really dig their music, and you can tell. And that's cool to me. And so I listen to a lot of stuff. I mean, I really do. But Johnny Cash is still the king. He's my favorite. Then I go all the way from like Jimmy Rogers, who's the king, the original founder of modern country music, and Bob Wills and Texas Swing. Like, I go all the way back to the 30s, and I come all the way to modern day, where I get like Eric Church and Zac Brown, who I dig and listen to. So it's a very it's a large answer, but man, it's a large question. Blondes or redheads? Redheads. I grew up around blondes, so I like the variety. I want to know, have you ever seen the rain? I have seen the rain, and as someone who grew up on the farm, I enjoy seeing it. I get it, the song reference. It's great. Actually, it's about to rain here. You probably noticed as the video's going along, it's gotten a little bit darker because the clouds have been coming in. I usually use a little bit of sunlight for my lighting, and it's kind of killing me right now. Come on, Mother Nature, help me out. She's like that. She's never helpful. I think we all know how that goes, trying to get natural light and being resisted by nature itself. How about this? I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days I thought would never end. A different song, but still awesome. Good question. Wait. Actually, my dad asked me something, sort of humorously. He asked me if the alternate personality in the AFI videos was based on him. Because everybody remembers the AFI alternate personality kept screaming, John Wayne! And my dad's the biggest John Wayne fan, and so he's like, that's based on me, right? Well, Dad, I gave you the answer personally. I'm going to give everybody else the answer, yes and no. And as much as my personality is like my father's, the character is based on my father. Because I did take quite a bit of my personality from my father. I'm a lot like him in a lot of ways, and so yeah, I like John Wayne too, and that's where that comes from. And so yes and no, he's based on my dad, and as much as I as a person based on my dad. So there you go, that's the answer to that. And lastly, guys, thank you. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for watching all my videos. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for just being there and commenting and writing stuff and doing videos that I watch and that I read and I enjoy. It's just a great experience, and I'm just using this opportunity to say thanks. I hope you know that I appreciate it. I really do, and I hope you enjoyed this. So happy trails, guys, and watch out for those rough patches.